Merry Christmas, my friends, and happy holidays to any who may not celebrate. This is Speed Bar, and today for you guys, I have for you a mega size Merry model to review for you, my friends, from the Gundam base itself. It is the mega size 1/48 scale RX-78-2 Gundam. Yes, my friends, this is a mega size. And note, I have never built a mega size till now, and it's definitely an interesting model, my friends, for many good reasons. One reason is that, yes, its size is very big, literally. But the funniest part about this, and from both my experience and a number of fellow builders who gave me their own opinions on their copies and such, this build is not that hard to assemble, my friends. It is not. A lot of people believe just because of its size, it might look very intimidating, but it's not, I assure you. It is literally what many would call a giant high grade. And yes, that is pretty much what this unit is in a sense. It is not hard to build. Literally, it took me like 1 day entirely to build this with no problems. It's easily color separation, so there's no painting really needed for most of it. And other than that, the assembly is pretty much almost no different than a high grade RX. So yeah, it's it's definitely surprising being the size of this unit, and because it's also now a over 10 years old. Literally, this unit was originally released back in 2010. The version we're looking at, of course, was released back in 2017 by the Gbase. So this mold has been around here and there. Because remember, friends, for those who aren't aware, mega size Gunpla they're known, but they're not as much in releases and such for quite some time, and we only get them. I don't even think we get them that much anymore, or at least outside of like reissues and like recolors like we see here. Really, we haven't really gotten a brand new mold in like that long. I'm pretty sure the last brand new mold was the Unicorns Gundams, and from what I have been told as well, that unit is very well liked. But that's for another day. For today, though, we're going to look at the RXs right here. And honestly, let's start off with the size comparisons in this case, my friends, because this thing takes up a lot of camera space for me to get the full size here. So let's start there, starting with SDs, because, why not? Let's go from small to big. And as you can see with the G3 I have for you, my friends, it doesn't even come up to the kneecap. It barely reaches the knee. That is wow. Okay, let's move on. My most recent entry grade for you guys, the RX recycled neon version. And as you guys can see, it too barely reaches up to the knee when we look at the size, so you guys can get the feel of this. Another one of my well-known models I've shown off many times, my 1100 F90. So you guys can see. Now, of course, we all know F1100s come in multiple sizes, per se, but I figured to show it off with one I'm well known with, one I like to use as well. And yeah, as you can see, it goes up to the ankle, right up to the joint section. Now, of course, this would be different with a number of other 1100 units. Of course, this is just what you would see, like with, as we all know, the later UC units, if you're wondering. Okay, let's see. Now, real quick, in fact, why don't we look at another 144 real quick? My most recent Psycho Gundam, because as we all know, the Psycho Gundam is literally a kaiju of Gundams. So let's see how big that is to it. And yeah, remember, guys, this kit is really big, and this unit only gets up to the elbow of this mega unit. Wow. That says something. That definitely says something. And lastly, we will look at an older unit, because unfortunately I don't have a newer one, of a 160 unit. Yes, this is the 160 Shining Gundam from the original 90s series. And yes, just like the Psycho Gundam, even a 160 scale only makes it up to the elbow. Now, I can't say for certain, like for example, like a PG Unleash unit, how the difference would be in that sense, because I know the new, literally the new Gundams PG Unleashed would probably be pretty big with the Mega here, but but as you guys can see, there's the best I can show you when it comes to at least multiple scales and such like that. And yeah, that is big for this literal big high grade, so to speak. And speaking of which, why don't we look at some of his accessories real quick? Because this unit has some interesting accessories. For example, of course, as you can see on him, he comes with a number of hands, including a standard set of fists to punch things with, of course. and number of trigger hands, which was interesting because after this, we don't have any open hands. It's just trigger hands pretty much. And the one difference is that some of them are designed to actually hold the beam saber, so you can actually pull off really cool beam saber poses. And you even use a second one of these to hold the triggering arm of the rifle there, which was interesting. I didn't expect that. And of course, besides that, you of course get the gun, the shield, beam sabers, which you will of course get giant beam chopsticks. And I'm not saying that because they're one color deal. No, I mean because literally you could eat with these. I do not know how to use chopsticks, so forgive me, but you get the idea. You could literally eat food with these if you wanted to, my friends. That is funny. What else? Also, you will get other actually, you get a set of tools with this kit that, well, we don't normally get with Gunpla, which are these, as it's called in the manual, a double separator. And that's because, of course, you get a part separator tool here and this part here, which would be pretty much your nippers, in a sense, all you do is put these in and you would break, well, not break, sorry. You'd pull off the part, of course, you need. Though, in my opinion, of course, I'd recommend using your regular nippers and other tools. But these are fun little tools. In fact, if I recall, I believe Bandai recently released their own, another version of this not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Well, yeah, fun little tools, and you get two of these because of the runners needed in this kit, of course. Other than that, the other main accessory you get is this really cool stand piece that you can use with the beam saber setup, as I mentioned, which is when you would have it in the hand and you'd have the beam saber like this, pretty much in the holder. Him and well, with this cool little piece here, which I painted this part to show off the Gunpla's 30th anniversary, which, as I already mentioned, this version is that many years old now. But it is cool to have this little effect piece. It is cool. I like it. Other than that, the last major accessory I have is a set of parts I personally didn't use. What it is these are cover pieces you put on the outsides, specifically of the arms here, here, and in the leg sections here and there. Which the reason I didn't really use them because what's already there, the mold looks just fine without it, and with a little panel lining, it honestly would look just fine. And the other reason I didn't use these parts really is because the only thing you get for like decals to like concern with are these really, and this one you see here with the reds and greens and such, which these are just for like shoulder lights you would have up here and here, which for many would know is like statues and live versions of the Gundam in real life, where they would have lights on the shoulders and certain designs of the RX-78s as well. But in the standard setup of what we normally would see, I just didn't use those for this. And the reason I didn't want to use these parts because for me, I would probably just repaint these because honestly, I would not, I wouldn't really use these stickers because they're all white and honestly, the color just doesn't really look nice. In a sense, it doesn't really match as well to the plastics white. So if it was me, I would probably just repaint this to try to match it up as I could. Though, to be honest, I sort of wonder why they didn't just print this runner in the white plastic in this case. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, that's it for accessories, my friends. And other than, well, minus some decals you can put on. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet or not, just so you guys can see. So yes, other than that, let us go in, of course, to articulation. Now, the interesting part with this is that because it's, like I said, a giant high grade, yes, this kit does use polycaps, and I mean big polycaps. But what's most interesting is the setup how they designed the joints on this kit is that with the polycaps, it's actually almost like a ratchet system in a sense, and I can show you. Let me just move the shield real quick. As you can see, I'm just moving it normally, and it has that ratchet feel to it when it's clicking and such like it does. But as you can see, it's a full 360 there. Full 360 with a little bit of a push, so to speak. And the elbow can go about that far. But as you can see, guys, the arm is, like I said, just with the legs and such, all on a ratchet set up with the polycaps they designed, and with a big ball-jointed wrist. And as for the shoulder itself, that's pretty much as far as it goes. As for like the head section, it's just a ball joint, so it just full 360 without bumping into too much armor. It doesn't have like a neck or anything, so you can't like extend it or anything, sorry, and such. Now for the waist, it is a bit tight here, guys, so you will bump into waist armor and such. So what you can do though, luckily, is all you have to do is just pull a little bit upwards like you see right there, and then you can of course extend it enough to where you can then of course do a full 360 with no problems there if you want. And as for the legs, as you guys can see, of course, with some armor out of the way, you can go all the way this far. Now the back armor doesn't move or anything, so it goes about that far. And as for the bend, that's it. It doesn't have a double bend, sorry guys. But you can go out this far, so that's pretty cool. And as for the ankle setup, it's as you see, just like I mentioned already. So you got a bit of a bit of movement here, about that far, and such. And of course, a swivel here if you want. Now, I have noticed though, because playing around with it, is that I noticed, unfortunately, it doesn't stand too well on like carpeting. I don't know if that was just me or just how I posed it, but I did have to pick it up a couple times because it did slowly fall over once or twice. So, like I said, that could have just been me, honestly. Let's see. And if you're wondering, so you guys can see, there's the gun right there. And if you're curious, like I did, you can actually hold this gun in your own hand. Though, unfortunately, of course, the trigger is too small, so you can't, put your hand in it. But it too has some articulation, like there. And like I said, you would take one of these hands and you would plug it into the ports you see on here, so you can actually pull up a firing setup. Though the only difference there is, as you can see, guys, for example, this would pretty much be how it would look with the other hand, as I mentioned, so you guys have an idea. So it has good articulation, allowing you to pull up some fun poses. And as you can see, the scope can move back and forth, and so forth. Now, other than that, my friends, yeah, that's pretty much it on that. And no, if you're wondering because of its size, can you like disassemble this to make the normal RX-78's formation of the core system and all that? No, there's no core fighter or any of that kind of stuff with this unit, guys. Sorry. It would have been cool, I won't lie. But no, there isn't that kind of gimmick with this one. But that's all right because, like I said, I've said it's pretty much a giant HG. But that's what makes this fun. I don't say it's a problem. I think that's really cool. And I even liked how they added details to the eye section here. That's actually just clear pieces in the back there with some silver that they added to it. And it just looks really cool. I like that. It gives it that real life look almost. Like if any of you have ever gone to see the 1-to-1 scale, RX-78, the movable one. So that would be equivalent to that. And other smudge details is fun with this kit, like you see with this giant shield. It is so big. It is so cool. I love it. It's simple. It's just literally a few pieces, and that's it. But it is so cool. And of course, you can set it up on his arm to play off the normal RX-78's battle poses with it, as you can see. And you can put it on both the side here or the back, like you would have with most high-grade versions, as you can see. As you can see, that's so cool that you can put it up to where you can have it set up around his eyes. I do love that. It is such a fun little gimmick and setup. You can play around with this guy and so forth. So yes, that is it, my friends. What do I think about the mega size unit of the RX? Honestly, I think it's a lot of fun. And yes, I admit, like many have told me, this is pretty much a giant HG. So if you happen to be an HG fan or someone that wants to try some bigger units that are easy to build, yes, I could easily recommend this, honestly. I had no issues with it. And it may have its flaws, like I said, with some of the, like I mentioned, with the ankle section. And yes, it does use polycaps and such, which I know many fans are not 100% fond of. But I mean, other than that, my friends, I still think this is a fun kit. And I really was glad to pick this up when I did because this was at the P-Bandai Gbase events that they had this year. So I was surprised they even listed it. So, of course, I had to check it out. But yeah, I could definitely recommend this. Or if you're picking up, any of its other variants, I could definitely say sure, why not? And yes, don't worry, guys. At a point, I will, of course, be checking out its fellow Gundam Wavemate, the Unicorn Gundam that I did pick up for you guys to compare with, because a lot of people have told me that unit is a really cool one to check out. So I'm definitely gonna have to check it out soon enough. So yes, that is it for today, my friends. I thank you always for coming. I do hope you're enjoying your hobbies, and of course, I wish everyone a happy, safe, both Christmas and holiday that you celebrate. So I thank you always. Have a good day.